Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of One on One. I'm your host, Tyler Small. Today, we are joined by another notable alum, the field reporter for the New York Yankees, Meredith Marakovits. Meredith, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Happy to be here. And Tyler, I have to be honest, with everything that's going on in the world, I had a little bit of extra time.
Yeah, I mean, you fooled me because it seems that you are on Yes Network pretty much all 24 hours of the day right now. So I'm very surprised to see you actually having some free time, but we are so thankful that you could join us.
Trying to stay busy, trying to stay sane, trying to stay safe and healthy like everyone out there right now. I hope you and everybody in the LaSalle community is doing the same.
Great. We push the same message onto you. So let's dive right into it. I mean, obviously, the biggest elephant in the room right now is no baseball going on, coronavirus. We're going to get into that, but before we really dive into how you've been handling the past couple of months, we want to talk about how you got to where you are. There are some people that live under a rock that don't know who you are. So let's see exactly what a normal day would be like for Meredith Marakovits.
So if baseball were going on right now, what would I be doing?
Yes.
So typically, say it's a 7:00 game, I generally leave my place in Manhattan. We'll assume that it's at Yankee Stadium. I leave my place in Manhattan around 1:30, get to the stadium by about 2:00, and then I'll start doing a little bit of research, just brushing up on what happened the night before. I'm generally at the game the night before, so I have notes from the night before that I kind of look through and see if there are any storylines that I want to try to further, any guys that I want to double back to that I didn't get a chance to talk to in the clubhouse the night before, and if there are any new storylines that I'd like to explore for the day. So after I do all of that, the Yankees clubhouse at home generally opens around 3:15, 3:20. So the clubhouse is open for about an hour. During that hour, at some point in time, Aaron Boone will address the media. So typically in baseball, when you walk into the clubhouse, if not right away, very soon thereafter, the lineup is generally posted. So you take a look at the lineup, see if anything is out of whack, see if anybody that you think should be in there isn't in there. That can be a red flag for something. So when you go to speak to Aaron Boone, you have an idea of where you want to go, what direction you want to go, what line of questioning you'd like to use. And then thereafter, the Yankees have batting practice on the field. So you go out to the field, catch up with people there, see what else is going on. Oftentimes there are Yankees officials that are there, whether it be scouts or an AGM or the general manager or different people in the Yankees world that sometimes you just get a couple minutes with and you're able to spitball a little bit with them if you have anything that's on your mind. You can also go over to the opposing clubhouse as well. That's usually open a little bit later than the Yankees clubhouse, so you have a chance to kind of dive in there if there are any players that you want to talk to over on that side. So once all of that is done, I'll come up with a game plan. I'll touch base with my producer in Connecticut. That's where our studios are. And we'll decide what I'd like to do in the pregame report. We'll put together a couple bullet points for a pregame report if I want to use any sound from the night before, if I did any interviews, either in the clubhouse or in the dugout, whatever, if I want to incorporate those in, if I want to incorporate anything from Aaron Boone's press conference, and we'll kind of come up with a rough outline. Now, I don't know how much field reporting you've done, but there's no teleprompter out there for the most part. We don't have a field producer. It's just somebody that's in my ear occasionally reminding me to get to the next element. So I don't always see all of the stuff before we get on the air, but I have a general idea of where we're going, or at least where I think we're going. So I'll do my pregame report. We also have a BP show. Sometimes I'll do a hit for that. I'll do my hit for my pregame report. I'll do a stand-up for the open of the game, and then I'll be up in the booth with the guys chiming in throughout the course of the game. Game's over, do post-game. You see those interviews on Yes. Then I go home, wake up, do it all again the next day.
Yeah, that's
Some
it.
Some days I have to pack. That's the only other difference. Some days I have to pack, and some days are day games. That's how I know it's the weekend, generally speaking, because I have to be at the ballpark early.
Yeah.
So now that I bored you with that, what else do you need to know, Tyler?
So kind of transitioning from day in and day out, you were there pretty much sunrise to sunset at the stadium, putting together stories, getting updates, to now it's been over 2 months since we were supposed to have opening day, but yet you guys still have to fill that 24 hours worth of content. So kind of talk about how that creative process has been, whether it's been you guys have done a big thing for Yogi Berra's birthday, for example, or talking with Paul O'Neill for the Subway Series, or even just having people on from the neighborhood and the Bronx community. So just talk about what that process has been like
We've tried really hard at the Yes Network to try to keep our fans and viewers as engaged as possible during this time. Sports oftentimes is an escape for people, and they're now without that escape, and they can probably use it now more so than ever with everything that's going on in the world. We've just been interviewing players past and present like this on Zoom, and those have been going out digitally. We've also been putting together a show, Yankees show, and then a recap show of some of the best things that we've done for the week. We also cover the Nets. I don't particularly cover the Nets often, but that whole crew, they've been doing shows as well. So it's been fun, and it's a team effort. Everyone at the Yes Network is working very hard to try to get things out there for people. And one of the coolest things that I think that we have done, or I've done in particular, it's not only interviewing baseball players and Yankees personnel. We've tried to get people on that are doing their part in the community, trying to help out during these times. I spoke to a nurse who was on the front lines about what it's been like and everything that's been happening in her world. She happens to be a huge Yankees fan. Another nurse that I spoke to the other day, she grew up in New York City. She left when she got a little bit older, but when she was 4 years old, her and her mother were involved in an apartment fire. Firefighters saved her. It wound up making the front page of the Daily News. That was in December of 1983. She has the picture, but she had not met the firefighter. And when she came up from Virginia to help out on the front lines to battle coronavirus, she actually found that firefighter, and they were reunited during the pandemic, which is one of the coolest things ever. We're hoping to get them to a Yankees game if and when there are fans allowed in the stands, both huge Yankees fans. So that's been really fun. And then on my own end, I've been doing a lot of Instagram lives, especially early on, just talking to different people throughout baseball. You mentioned the Yogi Berra Gala. They were supposed to have that every year. They have it at the Plaza in New York City. And obviously this year, because of COVID, it was canceled. So we got our minds together and decided to have a virtual one. And it was a lot of fun, though I will say weird. I don't think I've worn shoes to work in about 3 months now. So I put on a nice dress, did my hair and makeup, but I didn't have shoes on.
Right, great. So something that I actually asked someone else in the MLB field, we talked to Justin Daniels the other day at MLB Network, and something that he kind of talked about was, and I'm going to ask you the same question actually, was what do you think is going on right now that is going to stay, that's going to become something like a norm for the future? So whether that be something that Justin brought up was how the MLB kind of shifted at the beginning of during the spring training. They kind of shifted away from media getting unlimited access into locker rooms or dugouts. And he doesn't know if that's actually going to go completely back. So what is something, whether it's that or something else, what is something else that you see that is going to change for the future that when we go back to a normal, it's not going to go back to that same way of doing things?
Going to be a whole new world, especially this year. Maybe we'll see some more normalcy next year, but I think it's all going to be dictated by the virus, and we still don't really know enough about it to know exactly what we need to be doing. We only know certain precautions that we can take right now. So yeah, I think it's going to be very different. Not everyone is going to be let in that ballpark. I still don't know if I'm going to be let in the ballpark, which would make my job a bit more difficult as a sideline reporter or clubhouse reporter if you're not allowed in the clubhouse or in the ballpark on the sidelines. So, we're just going to have to be creative. And I think that's one thing that this whole thing really caused some creative juices to maybe start flowing again, different ways to do things virtually, digitally, to make sure that you still have a presence and you're still able to do a job. So we've thrown around a lot of ideas. We aren't sure what the mandates are going to be. I'm hopeful that not only is there going to be baseball, but that I'm going to be involved. And even if I'm not allowed there, I'll probably be in our studio in Connecticut doing pre and post game in some capacity. It's just going to take a lot of patience, a lot of communication, and a lot of hard work on everyone's end to make sure that we can get a show out there and a quality show out there. So I've heard everything from they're only going to be Zoom interviews with players to maybe you'll be allowed to do it from 6 feet away to all kinds of crazy possibilities. Until there's an agreement, I just can say we do not know. We don't know.
Yeah, I guess that seems to be the gist for anyone in the field right now. But going back to something that you said when you visited LaSalle to talk as a guest speaker in the fall semester, You mentioned that you kind of wanted to see your career move towards getting a desk job or one of the panelist jobs, whether that be the pre or post game at Yes, but like Jack Curry and others, or something else along those lines. Have you seen the coronavirus and what could come for the season and what's coming currently kind of help those ambitions of yours, whether that be because you can't go through every which way of the stadium when the season comes back, or just when you're doing all these sit down sort of panelist talks during what should be the season right now? Have you seen that switch or think it will help you in the future?
I'm not 100% sure. I like the idea of doing it, but I'm also a very hyper person. So the idea of doing the same thing and going to the same place every day would be difficult. It would be a hard transition. Prior to the job with the Yankees, I covered the Sixers. I traveled with them. Before that, I always worked 2-3 different jobs. So I was in about 2-3 different cities between New York, Philly. I worked in Boston for a while at the same time, Reading, Allentown. I was constantly on the go. I don't know if this lifestyle is sustainable, so it would be nice to incorporate some more of that into it, but I don't see that happening necessarily in the immediate future. Maybe in this weird post-pandemic world, we'll be forced to do things like that in a little different way, but it is something I'm interested in, and it is something that I'd be happy to do. And you mentioned that 2000 World Series show that we did. That was really cool because it was a newer technology, and we were running the video through, not this, I think it was through Google, but we were able to roll in video real time. I had a producer in my ear, still no teleprompter, but we were seeing graphics real time. The guys were talking at the same time. So to be able to kind of produce a show like that you would have never dreamed of doing that before, or even thought, why would I have to do this before? It's neat to know that that's a possibility, and you could legitimately do an hour-long show with graphics, video, all that jazz in real time and actually get it out there in a timely fashion.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think a lot of people knew that. But kind of going off that point, how prepared were you? Technologically, I should say. Like, how much did you have a home office that you could show on a screen? How much of this equipment did you have? You just said that you had that earpiece. Did the Yes Network have to ship that to you, or did you already have that just in case there was anything you had to report from home in the future, or in the past, I should say? How prepared were you for this from a technological standpoint?
Well, I did go to Best Buy that day because usually I don't have headphones in now. Some people wear headphones, some people don't. I typically don't. All the ones that I have are plug-in ones, and all my friends make fun of me because they're like, come on, get with it. Like whole theory on it, but I won't even get into that. So that day I mobile ordered and went through the little line, and the guy just put them in the back of my truck. It was like the no contact delivery because I did not have earbuds to wear. So it was actually regular earbuds that I still have. I had actually started a kind of YouTube channel and YouTube show sort of thing beginning of spring training. I had an idea that I've wanted to do this for a while. The idea was to carry it throughout the season and do individual little stories in each city and post it on the YouTube channel. So I had already purchased some things like a new MacBook, a Circle Light, lavs, what else? A new camera. So I had a couple things in place. So luckily for me, I was probably a bit more prepared than other people because I had already been doing stuff. So it was a really easy transition for me. And I think that's why Yes probably leaned on me a lot, especially early on, because I've been in this space. I understand this space probably more so than maybe some other people. But I have to give everyone at the network and the talent in particular a lot of credit because everybody has been on board since day one. They've figured it out. Some people that you're like, no way are they going to be able to do that. They're in. They figured it out. They found a way to get it done. We've had a wide variety of guests and a great showing for Yes talent throughout this. So that's been kind of cool.
Great. I mean, so going off something else that you just said, you mentioned that you, in the beginning of spring training, you pitched the idea for that YouTube channel. You, every day for a game, you're usually pitching your own stories, you're pitching your own headlines that you want to talk about. So you already have such a creative field. Now that any producer anywhere is kind of asking the talent to give them creative suggestions or however it works, have you seen your world become more or less creative? Because you're already in such a creative atmosphere, but yet you have to think outside the box right now. So how have you kind of handled it, and what's the differences been like?
It's just different because you need to find ways to talk about a sport that's not going on right now. So the game is very heavy on what happened the day before, or what is this player doing right now? This person's struggling at the plate. What does the hitting coach say about that? It's kind of dictated by what's happening in the present, where here you need to get a bit creative, look outside the box at times to try to find stories, dig a little deeper to find different interviews. So it's just different, I would say. I don't think it's harder or easier. It's just a different approach overall, which has been fun, to be honest.
Great. No, yeah. So I guess the last question I'll ask you, since the majority of the population that will be watching this are a lot of people that are going to want to be in your shoes, in your field of work. So the one question I'll ask is, for both during this pandemic and just overall getting there in the first place, what do you think LaSalle, the skills that it instilled in you, or just the traits that it's taught you, what do you think was most important for your success just in everyday and especially during this pandemic?
They gave you an opportunity. I know you can go to different schools out there that maybe have bigger broadcast departments, but I know coming in as a freshman and a sophomore, I was able to do more hands-on stuff than I'd be able to do at all of those other places. And the one thing that I loved about the professors at LaSalle, and especially Tanya and Sid, who used to be there, I don't know if he stops in anymore. I bet he probably does. But they were always willing to go the extra mile, not only to help you, but I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times they kept the department open longer for me to put a resume tape together, or just offered some guidance. My junior year or my senior year, I was working for Service Electric 2 Sports in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I was pretty much working full time and still trying to finish my curriculum. And they found a way to make it a co-op for me. So I'd receive credits for it while I was working and getting paid. So they were very good in working with you and finding ways to help you. They also, as you know, there's a network of LaSalle alum out there that are in the field, that are always willing to talk to people that are from LaSalle that need advice or just want to pick your brain, or whatever it might be. So I think that's another valuable thing about LaSalle. But I really like the fact that it was a small, tight-knit community, and you could tell that they genuinely cared. And that, I think, will stick with me. It's a lot of hard work. I know Tanya's in that TV studio all the time working. It's a ton of hard work. You know it. You're in there all the time too. But that's how you get better. It's through reps. And when you're young and you haven't done a lot of stuff, you're not going to get better without those reps. So I think it's a great opportunity, and they listen to ideas, and you may not have that flexibility elsewhere.
No, yeah, I mean, those are all such great points. Great. Well, Meredith, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate the time. Both Tanya and I really appreciate it for the project we have at hand, but me more selfishly and personally, I want to thank you so much for giving me something that I could make all my friends back in northern New Jersey jealous about, that I got to sit down with the field reporter for the New York Yankees. Meredith, I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, and it's been a pleasure anytime, Tyler.
All right. Well, for One-on-One, I'm your host, Tyler Small. Thank you for joining us.